What's going on, everyone? My name is Nox, and today we are talking about the Ball Lightning Sorc. It's going to be a theory crafted guide for Season 4. The reason why it's theory crafted is because they're doing a lot of changes to the tempering affixes, and we're not really sure where things land as far as how effective things are, and so some of these stats might change. The footage you're seeing in the background is from Aquaid, who is, I believe, a Chinese YouTuber who does a ton of math, does a ton of Sorc videos. He does a ton of wizard stuff on Diablo 3 as well. Definitely go check him out. But this is him blasting a level 200 pit. Now, I don't think level 200 pit is going to be possible in Season 4 because of the way they changed the scaling. But it's obviously doing very well, and a lot of this build, the way I have built it, is built off of his original Paragon tree. I did change around a significant number of aspects, and I am not using the fractured hourglass amulet. So let's jump into the build, and I will show you guys how I build it, so maybe you guys can give it a try coming in Season 4. Here's the build right here. I just wanted to kind of go over what my goals for the build were. I wanted to be at resist capped, obviously. I wanted to have armor cap, obviously, and I wanted to have as much damage reduction as possible because I play hardcore. So this is going to be as tanky as sorcerer builds come. We also have flame shield here for some extra immunity, and we have a significant amount of barrier generation with ice armor and some of our passives. So let's just go over the skill tree real quick. Most of our damage is going to be done by ball lightning. But let's just start at the beginning. We're going to do 2 points into Firebolt because we're using the Firebolt enchant here for the burning tech. Jumping down to Elemental Dominance for more damage. We're going to put 1 point into Teleport, over into Shimmering Teleport. Again, 30% damage reduction. 1 point into Flame Shield. We don't need these extra ones here because, one, we don't really want to be taking too much damage, so this missing health doesn't matter. And a larger burn radius, that doesn't matter either. We're taking ice armor, again, just for the additional barrier here, and the active ice armor reducing its cooldown. We're taking ice blades, 1 to reduce cooldowns, but 2, this is going to be our frost or cold damage for Talrosh's ring once we get it. We are taking a point into Lightning Spear all the way into Invoked Lightning Spear. This is simply just so we can have more vulnerable uptime. This is one of the ways that we apply vulnerable within the build. And we're doing Align the Elements, Mana Shield, and Protection. This is just for more defense. We're maxing out Conjuration Mastery because it's one of the strongest masteries in the game. 6% increased damage, movement speed, and 12% increased mana generation for each active conjuration. So when you have Unstable Currents up and it's shooting out lightning spears left and right, and when you have Ice Blades up, tons of damage, tons of mana regeneration, tons of movement speed. Feels good. Jumping over here to Devouring Blaze is just increased critical strike damage for burning enemies. Enemies are always going to be burning because we're using the Firebolt enchant. We're maxing out Ball Lightning, jumping over here to Invigorating Conduit. Now, as you get more and more mana, you can drop points from Invigorating Conduit, and usually this would be a 3 points here. But as you notice your mana getting better, you can drop points from it and pop over here to Shocking Impact for the extra damage on stun. We're going to do Wizard's Ball Lightning because we're increasing our crackling energy generation, and that will allow us to get some more mana. So there's a little feedback loop there. Like I mentioned before, Unstable Currents into Prime Unstable Currents and Supreme Unstable Currents. Down here to Electrocution for the damage reduction here. And finally, for our key passives, I take Veer's Mastery here. I think early on into your progression, you could take Overflowing Conduit. This is simply for the cooldown reduction. But I think Veer's Mastery is eventually going to be the best one because it's, 20% increased damage and 25% less damage taken, respectively. We're always going to be critting because even with this gear right here, not perfectly min-maxed, we have 82% chance to crit, and that's not counting our additional shock critical strike chance that we can get from tempering. Again, all of this gear is just something that I generated in max roll, and it will allow us to sort of simulate what we're looking for as far as best in slot things go, but it's not necessarily going to be how it looks on live because we don't know what they changed from PTR. So as far as tempering aspects go. So going over the aspects real quick. We have Mage Lord. This is just for damage reduction in conjunction with Fear's Mastery. We're using concentration, which is conjuration skills give us damage reduction for 5 seconds. We're going to be using ice blades quite often, so that'll be a good uptime on that. For our last defensive aspect, we are using disobedience here. You will eventually drop this to Bolt's Will. I think is like a good just straight upgrade for this build. We are over the armor cap with this specific set of gear without disobedience, but I feel like early on into gearing you will definitely need it or Juggernaut or maybe both just to hit that armor cap so you're nice and comfy. For our first damaging aspect, we do have Storm Swell. This is just increased damage to vulnerable targets while we have a barrier. We are using Ghost Walkers just for the unstoppable movement speed. It just helps out a lot. Also, boots are going to be really strong. Like legendary boots are going to be very, very strong in the upcoming season because of the ranks to ball lightning you can get on them. I think Flicker Step is a good option, and I think it's good for resetting your ultimate. Unstable currents here, but I'm not exactly sure if it's worth dropping it. We'll kind of have to see how that feels long term. We are using a wand here. I want it for the increased lucky hit chance for the primary resource restoration. And we are getting the conceited aspect here. This is 25% increased damage while you have a barrier. We are using gravitational. This is what makes ball lightning orbit around you. We are using Ring of Control. Now, this is before you get Tal Rashas, but it's just more damage to stunned or frozen enemies. They're going to be stunned often because we have that on our passive tree there. And additionally, if we are using Raiment of the Infinite, they're definitely going to be stunned. So before you get Tal Rashas, Ring of Control is pretty good. We are using the Prodigies aspect. This is just for more mana restoration. Everything on our bar except for Ball Lightning is a cooldown, so we get 25 mana every single time we do that. And finally, we're using Amulet of Shredding Blades. This is Ice Blades has an increased chance to apply vulnerable. We're casting Ice Blades on cooldown. And we gained 45% vulnerable damage. So this vulnerable damage applies all the time, whether or not Ice Blades is active. So it's just a straight damage upgrade for what we're trying to do. Enemies are always vulnerable when we're attacking them, either through Lightning Spear from Unstable Currents or through Ice Blades. So this is just a strict upgrade for us. For the Paragon real quick, I just want to quickly go over it. This again is based on Akred's Paragon tree that he sort of linked, but I sort of min-maxed it a little bit, tried to get as much damage reduction as I could for my hardcore preferences. Again, you could drop some if you wanted, you could drop some of the life that you wanted, but I feel like if you really want to push very high in the pit, you are going to want a tanky character. I'm not sure if 25,000 life is enough. I think I probably want something closer to 40, but we will see when the affixes come out and when the content comes out, how much we actually need to survive comfortably. For the glyphs we are using, I use Elementalist here just for the increased damage. The Territorial here for the damage reduction from close. We're always in the enemy's face, so that makes sense. We are using Enchanter. This is for just to increase our non-physical damage done, just generally good positive damage outcome here, as well as the increased max res. Max roll does not calculate the +5 to maximum resistances for your enchantment slots here. So this would be 75 and 75 respectively. We use the charge aspect here. We're picking up crackling energy all the time, so we're going to get 15% more damage. We are using Adept. This just makes our mastery skills larger. Ball landing, hit more targets, a little bit more comfortable on the AoE and the clear there. Glyph of Destruction, again, just more damage. Flame Feeder, increased damage to burning enemies. And finally, we are jumping up here to Exploit, which again, more vulnerable damage. For our legendary nodes we are looking at Frigid Fate, and this is simply just so we do more vulnerable damage. We are getting a lot of bonus damage to cold because of our non-physical damage here from the Enchanter glyph, and also once we have Tal Rashas, we'll have even more, but we comfortably cap this even without Tal Rashas, so this is very, very nice. That is the little rundown of the Paragon there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I may be starting the season as a Sorc. I know everybody's talking about Necro right now, and I'm really excited about Necro too, but there's a lot of Sorc builds that I really want to give a try, and I definitely want to give Hydra a try. There's going to be a guide coming out for that soon. Just wanted to share this one with you guys. Again, Theorycrafted, everything here is subject to change. All the gear is subject to change, but that's what's going on here. Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Good luck in your Season 4 start. Talk to you guys soon.